have any skills in that whatsoever.
Okay, so we're recording, so we'll just...
Start theme music.
Thanks for letting me sit, Carl.
Yeah. Have we started? What do you think of our theme music? Pretty
It's
cool.
cool.
Eh?
Yeah.
That's Michael Jackson in the chorus. Just
Yeah.
saying. I think Steve and I agreed. Like, if you know of any better music, like, let us know.
Yeah, we're taking a poll.
So the other thing, I'm pretty happy to have you here because you're a keynote speaker at BSides, but also apparently you're a podcaster. So like,
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed, but we probably could use some advice. We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Right?
You notice some gear isn't actually being used because it wasn't conducive to our operation today.
Yeah, we're trying to do OODA loops in the spirit of cyber, which means not having a plan. But maybe tell us about yourself, why you're here, doing a keynote, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm an offensive security professional. I've been doing that for a little over 11 years. January make 20 years that I first got into cybersecurity.
Wow.
I've taught before. I used to teach at Dallas College. I taught pen testing, web app pen testing. Really passionate about sharing and teaching others in the community. So even though I don't teach at the college anymore, I'm still doing workshops at conferences, speaking at conferences. I'm an author of the book, The Pen Tester Blueprint, starting a career in pen testing.
So I want to get to that about how you crack, no pun intended, the lineup. But so what brings you to BSides is kind of the continuation of that education plan. Is that the plot?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about going to conferences is meeting people that I'm connected to on social media, just meeting other people new for the first time and sharing that information. So that's one of the reasons, because one of my favorite missions is just educating and helping others out. So I love it. And the BSides conferences is so much more community. You go to some other conferences that are more kind of professional and they're just not as much fun as these type of conferences. And just everyone involved is just really passionate and wanting to help the community. So that's one of the things I really like about it. BSides is some of my favorite conferences.
Yeah, double down on that because I agree. Like that's our theme is like, so why are you here at BSides and how's it going? How's the experience year over year? Like any things you'd like to comment on as far as what blew your socks off so far? Or?
I actually have a question. Sorry not to cut you off,
Sure,
but
go for it.
I'm sure you've been to many BSides like globally. Does anything stand out about Ottawa? Like, is there anything, like, does it feel like that same vibe, or is there anything that's like that you'd say is different here versus like, maybe back home?
They're all just a little different, but the biggest thing I see is welcoming. So it's very welcoming here. Me being from the U.S. and not knowing a lot of people here, which I was at an Atlantic Security Conference, and I was telling Julian that you were just speaking with out there.
Yeah.
Julian Richard, we're connected on social media. We got to meet for the first time. And I was there, I didn't know very many people at that conference. And I told him, I said, I need to make more Canadian friends. So he introduced me to more people. So I met several people there, starting to build my network with Canadians. And so it's been very welcoming. That's one of the things I love about the Canadian people. They're very welcoming. Like, you go back to the States, there's certain states that are a little more welcoming. And then once you get into more of the cybersecurity culture, it tends to be more welcoming, like the BSides and stuff.
Right.
But I really like here because it really reminds me a lot of like in Texas in the South. It's probably a little more welcoming than some of the other states in the U.S.
Right on.
But one of the vibes I picked up here in Canada, a lot more welcoming. People are very friendly. So.
Ah, nice. Origin story. So like a lot of students, a lot of people looking to crack the cyber lineup, and you're an educator and what's the right word? There's no pen test university last time I checked.
No.
So just advice, or maybe tell a little bit about how you got into it and to the people behind you how to get into the gig.
Sure. One of the stories I like to share is how I originally got into this. When I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I graduated in '84, so you didn't have all these computer careers and stuff back then. We had like Macs and the art classes, and then there was some IBM computers, but only the smart kids were doing that. I totally didn't get into that. So not knowing what I wanted to do, my friends told me, since I was a powerlifter, you should be a pro wrestler. So I was a pro wrestler for a few years.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just want to say, I
What
was
was
a
your
junior
handle?
varsity wrestler in high school, but it's a weight class thing. Otherwise, I'd go. Right?
Were you like a pro, like Olympic style wrestler, or like a
The fake stuff.
Wrestling.
nice? What was your
Yeah,
handle?
sports entertainment. Yeah, I just went under Phil Wylie because at first you have to lose all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And so, yeah, so
you're the Star Trek guy in the red shirt with your name on the back.
Yeah, they refer to us as job boys or jobbers. Basically, you're going in to make someone else look
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So I did that
Oh.
for a couple of years. Needed a more stable career or something with insurance and all this because I got married, and so I kind of got out of it. So I ended up finding AutoCAD. I went to school
Oh, yeah.
to be a CAD operator.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did that for a while, and that's where I found IT. Was a sysadmin for
Right.
almost 6 years. Moved into security, and then I found pen testing from there, which has been my passion. It's something I really enjoy. But as far as the tips I would give someone starting out, the biggest tip, most of all, and you'll find all the resources you know by doing this, is networking.
Nice.
Going to events like this.
100%.
Wow.
And some people do a lot of the networking is important on LinkedIn, but you need the in-person stuff because someone comes to an event like this, you meet them, and your company needs some entry-level people. If you talk to someone, know what their skill set's like, you can recommend
You got to
them.
commit. You got nothing, so you got to convince somebody
Yeah.
face to face why.
Yeah,
It's not
definitely.
your resume is going to do it.
Because just a resume, no one knows your
Yeah.
communication skills, no one knows
Yeah.
your personality. You know, you can kind of get someone's passion. In my first pen testing role, I didn't have pen testing experience. I'd run vulnerability scanners, had some security experience, but the guy interviewing me saw my passion to
Right.
learn, that I was doing a lot of this stuff on my own. And you don't get that from a resume. You have to really be in person.
So you're selling the. It's funny because everyone's backstory is always, oh, it's my dad, or I had a friend, or I got a break. The flip side of the break is it's the intangibles that I sold. That's all I got. I don't have the thing you need, but
Yeah.
face to face, I can sell you on my intangibles.
Yeah. You know, people talk about marketing yourself. Yeah, it's good to market yourself, but you got to be able to sell yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you're putting whatever out there on LinkedIn, social media, but then you have to be able to, when you get into that interview, share tips about yourself, things about you that what you bring to the table. For me, I do a lot of evangelism for companies I work for. So, an example I share was a previous job that while I was there, I got the company more LinkedIn followers, more Twitter followers, more visits to their booth at the conference. And these are things that I use to sell potential employers when I'm talking to them,
Right.
that I've got more to offer than just this. And everyone's got that. You know, people are really good writers or presenters and just different things that they can share that they bring to the table that's helpful in cybersecurity that they don't think. I was talking to someone after my presentation, and she had like a business analyst background, and from my presentation she saw how she could leverage that. I was talking to her, you know, you take some people that are highly skilled, very good at what they do, but they don't have the communication skills, they can't translate that into plain language
Right.
like business folks, and that's what you need.
Interesting, because that's money. I want to double down on networking. You know, you want to get a job in cyber, show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look interested. Networking that respect, but you also, like when you said, here's what got me in, you know, accidental tourist, but sysadmin.
Yeah.
Everybody I've ever heard that's in pen test or incident response, they have that in their background. If you had to pick one course or whatever, I feel that sysadmin or network admin is kind of the base. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I think it's a base. And the thing for people listening too is you don't have to be a sysadmin. You just need that level of knowledge so you can get that on your own. So you don't have to, because if you follow my path, I've spent 6 years as sysadmin, and there's like, you know, several years before you'd ever get into it, but just having that level of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's kind of different. You see a lot of people from my generation that's telling some people, and some people view it as gatekeeping, and I really don't think so. Some people are, there are gatekeepers, but some people are just trying to say, this is what I did to get there. You have to do this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you just acquire the knowledge. You don't have to spend all the years in that role.
You said 1984, so I'm 83 grad.
Yeah, okay.
BSc, look at me, but I went.
I was born in 83.
Yeah, what's Rockwell, 1983, hell of a song, but year to year. My point was that it was a recession, and so I didn't get the big R&D job, and I was a lab boy. And so I wasn't trying to be a sysadmin, but I was called hacker back in '84. That was not a compliment.
Yeah.
And I was lab guy and doing deploys and all these other things that are now called DevOps. The point is, I wasn't a sysadmin guy, but I knew all that little stuff enough to be dangerous, enough to be in a data center, enough to know what a Cisco MUX was, and when as soon as I got into cyber, I went, oh, I've got this gap around network admin, but I know my shit. I know how to do the commands. I know enough about Unix to be dangerous. You don't have to be the sysadmin, but you do have to know that stuff. It's a very good point that more than any coding or any R&D stuff I did, that little lab boy period and facilities and data center is what I use mostly in cyber as a base.
And,
well put.
And so, like, based on your background, you came from sysadmin, and then you got really interested in pen testing. So, the majority of the people that I speak to about I want to get into cybersecurity, I want to be a pen tester, and I always ask them why, because like sometimes I don't know if they know what a pen test, like what it means to actually be a full pen tester. It's not just, oh, I break stuff. It's like, here's the report on how I broke stuff. Like what got you interested in pen testing, and how much of that, like, was it any different than you thought it would be when you first jumped into it?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different, but one of the things that kind of drew me to it is it does a lot of people to get paid to hack for a living. That was what was interesting. And I used to have, I had SCOTUS's book, Hack and Counter Hack. They came with a CD with some labs in there. Played around with that and some other different online resources. When I first moved into security, I took Foundstone's Ultimate Hacking course. So I got to take that, took like a CEH course, and that's where I kind of got interested in it. But when you get into it, a lot of things people don't realize is writing the reports. That's not always fun. Sometimes the hours you work are not always so great. If you're a night owl, sometimes it's good. But there's times where I had a client that I had to work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then there's some people you can't start until maybe midnight.
Right.
And you got to work all those crazy hours. And if you're a night owl, that's okay. But if you're not, that can be kind of tough.
You're an off hour. You're breaking things off hours.
And then writing the reports, and then sometimes you got to defend your report. You'll get that sysadmin that they get the pen test report. No, that's not possible. And they just like, you feel like a lawyer when you're trying to defend that pen test report.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think everyone should do when they're looking for any job, go to conferences like this, sit in the different sessions, do the CTFs, learn the different disciplines, because you may think you want to be a pen tester, but there may be something out there that you love a lot more. And the thing is too, when you're looking for jobs, the area of pen testing is a lot more crowded because that's what everyone wants to do.
Exactly.
So you may be able to find like a GRC job easier because you don't have as much competition.
It's well put about the GRCs might pay the rent. Pen test attracts, like you say, it does attract more attention. The other part I like here, it's not the sexy part of the job that you gotta like, it's the grind that you gotta deal with. Off hours, writing reports, defending your thesis. That's a lot of pen test work, and if you don't enjoy that, that's 80% of the battle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's something that I really wanted to get on tape, because for a lot of people I know, like even when I've had resumes for, like I was looking for like a security analyst or like a senior analyst, and all they focused on was like on the resume was just pen testing and Kali Linux and it's like you're just dropping keywords, but I don't know what you actually do, and there's nothing about how you actually analyze anything you've done. So and then upon questioning, sometimes like we're interviewing, let's say, you find that there are gaps in fundamental knowledge because they've just focused on like pen test and haven't really tried to dive in and just get curious about stuff, because that's like the best pen testers or hackers are genuinely curious about how stuff works, and then so I know it works this way, so I can just make it do this, and then that's like from my perspective, that's how I feel about it, is when I really understand a system, and then I could tweak it, and then I'm in, kind of thing. But if you don't understand the systems and you just jump into the pen testing, then you're just running tools.
Exactly. And that's some good points you bring up, because one of the things everyone I see jumping in, they want to get into the fun part, the hacking piece, but they're not wanting to learn the basics of the operating systems. And one of the things you could do is you can actually kind of learn in parallel. If you're trying to learn Windows at a sysadmin level, while you're doing that, learn how to secure it.
Right.
Learn the security of it. See how you can exploit those security flaws.
This is where Stevens is the blue team, purple team kind of guy, and they've talked me into it because I'm not a pen tester, but it's to play better offense. I know this in sports, to be a better pen tester, to play better offense, go play defense. Yes. Understand how they're guarding you. You don't have to be the defensive back. You don't have to be the instant response guy, but you got to go live in their shoes to go back out and be a better pen tester, and vice versa.
Yeah, especially if you don't want to get caught, right?
I think we're 10 minutes, guys.
We're at 14.
You know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna call that a close.
Awesome.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you want a koozie, you can go ahead and grab it. or a bottle opener, or a beer.
Yeah, I'm not really a koozie kind of person, but yeah.
Me neither,
Thanks,
really.
though.
I don't know why I got
Yeah.
that.
But
Thanks
I've
for
heard,
Carl.
I've heard of your podcast, though.
Really?
Yeah, I see the logo. That yeah, I've heard of that.
Wow.
It's the outro, man. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice to meet you
Yeah.
guys.